Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH the Flame Emperor episode number 107 based on novel. So let's start. Well, that's right. Xiao Yan put down the other thoughts in his mind slightly, and then concentrated on thinking. Since it's a desert mountain range, there are some evil auras here that are similar to those of an alien race. In addition to this forbidden space and the double suppression of soul power and spiritual power. The pavilion, the surface of the water. Xiao Yang simply sat down and muttered incessantly. This water. After thinking for a few minutes, Xiao Yang got up and stared at the dark brown water surface of the lake. Condensation. At the next moment, Xiao Yang's pupils suddenly burst into a trace of sparks, and then he drank it, and suddenly a fiery finger with fierce energy appeared on his fingertips. Go. Xiao Yang was drinking, and suddenly the fierce finger light on the finger, with extremely tyrannical energy, suddenly attacked the water surface of the Hu Bo. Bang! The flame fingers were still in the pavilion, and they flew straight at first, but as they left the shelter of the pavilion, the flame fingers, which were mixed with fierce energy, suddenly dropped in speed and power. Even the flames wilted, as if they were being suppressed by some powerful force. Hold on for me, Xiao Yang said coldly. At this time, Xiao Yang was helpless and could only pin his hopes on this flame finger. Fortunately, Xiao Yang's flame was not an ordinary flame, but a new flame that was fused with 23 different types of flames, so he insisted on this fearful coercion. The next moment, the flame finger sank into the lake. It's just that the shares did not sink into the water surface of the lake, but the flames showed no signs of going out, and flowed directly around the water surface. As the flames flowed around, the flames were just like Xiao Yang's eyes, which directly fed back to Xiao Yang the many situations he saw under the water. There is nowhere. Xiao Yang closed his eyes and muttered to himself. Wait, that is. Just when Xiao Yang was about to give up, a behemoth appeared directly in front of the flaming finger. A strange voice emanated from the aquatic creature, and then the creature moved abruptly, instantly swallowing Xiao Yang's flame finger. When the flame finger disappeared, Xiao Yang's pupils on the pavilion suddenly opened, and a very solemn expression appeared. There really is something in this lake. Xiao Yang stared at the calm water. What? Long Yi said slightly, although he had already thought that there would be something here, but when Xiao Yang discovered it, Long Yi couldn't help but be surprised. I don't know, but it's very strong. At least it's much stronger than the ice mark Tianhu before. Xiao Yang said solemnly. There is a change. The next moment, the water around the pavilion suddenly surged. The circles of water ripples trembled violently. I'm coming out. Xiao Yang whispered, and then the flames all over his body instantly appeared, beating slowly on his body. The next moment, the water surface that shook violently to form a vortex in the water suddenly burst out with a water column several dozen meters in size. Above the water column, the terrifying killing intent instantly permeates. Afterwards, the water column attacked directly at Xiao Yang, without any hesitation. The flame divides the wave ruler. Seeing this, Xiao Yang saw this. The ancient ruler of the eternal fire in his hand emitted a very bright light, and then a terrifying fighting skill was displayed in an instant. Boom boom boom. The terrifying energy ruler and the water column attacked together, but the two instantly subsided, like water and fire blending together, without causing any ripples in the water. It seems that not only is the creature in the water weird, but even the water in this lake is extraordinary. After a brief fight, Xiao Yang murmured. Although they fought for a short time just now, Xiao Yang had already discovered that this lake was very strange. Even with his current strength in the early stage of the 5-star Dodi, he couldn't be happy with the ripples caused by this lake. As for the attack of the water column just now, it seemed random, but it gave Xiao Yang the feeling that it was like a prison, extremely terrifying. I haven't shown up yet. Xiao Yang snorted coldly, and just wanted to leave the pavilion for a moment, but suddenly remembered, and then stood on the pavilion. The ancient ruler of Yihua Heng exudes the color of flames, facing the pavilion. A whirlpool in the water a few meters away. Human. This is not a place for you to come. The people who enter this place only die. A rebellious voice suddenly sounded from the vortex of the water. Junior doesn't mean to offend, entering here is purely accidental. Xiao Yang said in a low voice. The sound of the whirlpool in the water just appeared just now, and Xiao Yang suddenly felt dizzy. This made Xiao Yang extremely shocked. You must know that Xiao Yang at this time is already a strong man with the initial strength of the 5-star Dodi. Adding the soul power of the peak of the god level ordinary level can make Xiao Yang feel this way. Since he came to Dodi continent, only a handful of people, Humph. Don't think I don't know what kind of calculus you humans are playing. This is where our master lives. Everyone who comes here is coveting the master's wealth. So, you. A voice came from the whirlpool in the water. It's just that this voice is obviously different from the voice just now. The sound at the beginning made Xiao Yang dizzy, but now this sound just makes Xiao Yang feel a little bit of fear. Senior, I don't know where to start. The kid just got into the desert mountain range by chance, and then got here because of that huge rock in the mountain range. Xiao Yang said calmly. Fuck into the desert mountain range? What nonsense are you talking about? The restrictions on the periphery of the desert mountain range are extremely terrifying. No more than 6-star Do Emperor can enter, and this is the top of the desert mountain range. Although you are only 5-star Do Emperor's strength, you obviously do not meet the rules for entering here. And you said that the rocks in the desert mountains brought you here? Do not make jokes. That's the guiding stone in the desert mountains. You can't find it. How can you meet it when you say it's there? You human being is full of nonsense. You can't keep it. The creature in the vortex said with a deep voice, rather disdain. No, a human has finally arrived. Don't let him die so easily. Otherwise will be too boring. A childish dissatisfaction emerged from the vortex in the water. Obviously, there were some differences in the vortex in the water. Listen to me. The deep voice suddenly drank, and then the somewhat immature voice suddenly withered and disappeared. Boy, do you want to die here, or let me kill you? Choose one for yourself. In the vortex of the water, the deep voice said impatiently. What if I say no? Hearing this, Xiao Yang could roughly guess what was in the water, and immediately laughed quite interestingly. Boy, can't you find death? A roar suddenly emerged from the water. What if I say I have a way to get you out of this huddle? In return, you tell me everything about this place, and take me to the Master's habitat. Xiao Yang smiled slowly, the corner of his mouth smiling particularly brightly. What did you say? A startled shout suddenly came from the vortex on the water surface. As I just said. Xiao Yang said calmly. Although I don't know why, Xiao Yang, relying on his huge soul power and intuition, vaguely felt that this mysterious creature did not belong here. In addition to the conversation just now, Xiao Yang's thoughts were even more firmed, so Xiao Yang came out this time. As for Long Yi, he had already returned to the ancient ruler of eternal fire. Because in its words, although he is now the ruler of the ancient ruler of the different fire, but Xiao Yang's strength is too weak, he can't exert his strength at all, so Long Yi, a member of the dragon family, will naturally not be in the Sada. Moreover, the Golden Dragon King also explained to Long Yi before he retreated, and he should not take action unless it is absolutely necessary. Jade is not cut, not a device. Boy, do you know what you're talking about? The whirlpool in the water suddenly roared, and the deep voice kept making Xiao Yang more dizzy. Xiao Yang faced this huge dizziness and looked directly at the whirlpool. The space in the vortex seemed to tremble slightly. This trembling is different from the previous fear, but an unseen excitement. Can you really? In the whirlpool, a tender voice said slightly. Shut up. The next moment, in the whirlpool, a deep voice emerged. No-name boy, Xiao wants to talk nonsense. Let this king cut you into 8 pieces and talk about it. As soon as the words fell, the vortex in the water shook violently, and then a huge body with a length of dozens of meters suddenly appeared in front of Xiao Yang. This is 3-headed water snake. A startled shout came out from Xiao Yang's mouth. The 3-headed water snake, this is an extremely terrifying existence. Although it is not as powerful as the swallowing python, it is no different from an extremely rare beast. The 3-headed water spirit snake is quite ferocious in nature. It has 3 heads, each of which is dominant, but they are all one. Whether it is attributes or personalities, they are completely different. Although this introduction was short, Xiao Yang was extremely shocked. Xiao Yang looked down in shock. At this time, above the water surface, the body of a huge 3-headed water spirit snake slowly appeared, with extremely dazzling scales on its body. Even Xiao Yang's current strength, if he wanted to break through in a short time, is tantamount to a fool's dream. Above the huge body, 3 heads slowly appeared. The 3 heads are the 3 lives of these 3 water snakes. Because the 3-headed water snake also has strength. The differentiation of strength is the pattern on the snake's head. The green pattern represents a 1-star fighting emperor level powerhouse. Counting carefully, I can actually find that there are 7 green lines on top of the extremely ferocious-looking giant in the middle. Even the 8th pattern has faint traces of outlines. A terrifying powerhouse that is comparable to the completion of the human 7-star Do Emperor or even the initial level of the 8-star Do Emperor. Looking at the beautiful young snake head next to it, it also has 7 green lines. He is also a powerhouse that is comparable to the 7-star fighting emperor of human beings. It's just that the snake head on the far left has its eyes tightly closed, as if there is no trace of vitality. Boy, take your life. The ferocious snake head in the middle, Snake Shinzi spit out a little, and then spit out human words. As soon as the voice fell, the huge body swayed instantly, and then burst into the direction where Xiao Yang was. Be careful to bump into it. The naive voice of the snake's head on the right appeared, and before she could finish speaking, the huge body suddenly changed. Bang bang bang. Just when the snake head in the middle controlled the body of the 3-headed water spirit snake and shot at Xiao Yang did not retreat or dodge, and stood directly on the edge of the pavilion. The next moment, the huge and ferocious snake head directly hit the invisible barrier 1 meter away from Xiao Yang. Boy. Above the hideous snake's head, the breath exhaled is clearly visible, but with the mysterious isolation of this pavilion, these 3 water spirit snakes are quite helpless. It seems to be the same as what I thought. Seeing this, Xiao Yang said unhurriedly, "Boy, you are very courageous, but..." After the ferocious snake head finished speaking, some extremely strange incantations suddenly appeared in his mouth, and then he kept chanting. Following this hideous snakehead's rant, Xiao Yang clearly felt that the mysterious power above the pavilion seemed to be slowly being mobilized. Once the mysterious restriction above this pavilion disappeared, Xiao Yang would be faced with a powerhouse in the early stage of the 8-star Do Emperor and a powerhouse in the 7-star Do Emperor. Bastard! Xiao Yang scolded secretly, and then the eternal fire eternal ancient ruler in his hand exuded a more powerful attack than before. Human, you have to be careful. My eldest brother intends to take away the restraining power of this pavilion. Then you will have to be on your own. Don't worry, my eldest brother's strength is not very strong, and it is only the strength of your human beings in the middle stage of the 8-star Do Di. Above the 3 water spirit snakes, a tender voice came out slowly. Humph. Hearing this, the hideous snake head snorted abruptly. It's not good, the big brother is going to be angry, can't I do it if I don't say it? The tender voice was full of grievances. His grandma's. Xiao Yang scolded, obviously not knowing what medicine was sold in the 3-headed water spirit snake gourd. Could it be that these 3 water snakes are crazy? According to my perception, they are clearly imprisoned here, because their breath is incompatible with this place, even after many years. My request is not too much. Why are these 3 water spirit snakes like killing their father's enemies? Their aura soars to deal with me. Xiao Yang said depressedly. I can't wait any longer. The next moment Xiao Yang felt that the power of restraint in this pavilion was rapidly draining. If one is completely lost, I am afraid that what Xiao Yang will face is 2 deadly enemies. Great heavens, good fortune palm. Xiao Yang's voice suddenly drank, and a huge energy handprint was instantly released, and then slapped on the huge body of the 3-headed water spirit snake. Plop. Xiao Yang's attack looked very terrifying, but hitting the 3-headed water spirit snake was like tickling him. Idiot, the 3-headed water snake is mainly water, the water attribute is quite soft, and the defense is extremely terrifying, only a little worse than the earth attribute defense. If you want to really attack us, I'm afraid that the minimum fighting skill level you need is also the fairy level. Don't take out a spicy chicken like you on the ground level. Gra gra. The tender voice let out a hint of a smile. Really? Xiao Yang heard the words, his heart sank suddenly, and then he suddenly threw the ancient ruler of eternal fire in his hand, and the soul-eating talisman in his hand suddenly flickered with a trace of black energy, which was randomly injected into the ancient ruler of eternal fire. Roar. Long Yi turned into a dragon's soul, constantly surrounding the body of the ancient ruler of eternal fire, and then the strange black energy entered the ancient ruler of eternal fire, and Long Yi suddenly held it in his mouth. Dragon's breath. A sudden sound burst out from Long Yi's mouth on the ancient ruler of the eternal fire. The violent flame was mixed with a little black gas, and it instantly went towards the 3-headed water snake a few meters away. What kind of power is this? It's so weird. The 3-headed water snake's huge body is shared by 3 heads, but the thoughts of the 3 heads are completely different. While the hideous snake head was cracking the pavilion's bizarre restraining power, the small snake head on the side said slightly. Obviously, Xiao Yang's attack was jointly shot by Long Yi and the Soul Eater talisman, because Long Yi knew that once the 3-headed water snakes broke the pavilion's ban, Xiao Yang's situation would be extremely bad. Boom boom boom. The terrifying power of flame instantly concealed the black energy, but the most terrifying thing about this dragon's breath is not the power of flame. Xiao Yang knew that with his own strange fire, if he wanted to hurt such a strong person, it would be a fool's errand. So this time, the dragon breath is just using the power of the flame to cover up the power of the soul-devouring talisman. Darkness Chunsang. Let the power of the Soul Eater directly attack these 3 water snakes. Although I don't know how powerful the power on this soul-devouring talisman is, it can devour even the extremely strange evil energy, and it is enough to deal with the 3-headed water snake. Boy, no matter how much resistance you do, you will be indifferent. Until I break the ban on this pavilion, I will eat you raw. A deep voice sounded from the head of the hideous snake. Although I vaguely felt that this dragon breath contained a very strange power, but with the pride of the 3-headed water spirit snake, I did not take it seriously. After all, no matter how bizarre the man in front of him is, he can't crack the absolute gap in strength. Under the absolute gap in strength, some intrigues and tricks will become vulnerable. Moreover, the 3-headed water spirit snake has been here for a long time. Because of the water, its defense power is not too much compared to the average 7-star Do Emperor, so he didn't care about Xiao Yang's attack at all, and continued to talk about something in his mouth. This human kid can actually see that we are imprisoned in this lake. But if we only have this strength, it is not enough for me to trust. After all, the thing that binds us at the bottom of the lake is really... A deep voice the ferocious snake head said slowly in his heart. But humans haven't been here for a long time. I remember that the owner here said that if someone comes here and passes the test here, they can go to his mansion. The tender voice said in his heart and deep voice. Do as I say. I want to see how powerful this human boy is. After the deep voice communicated in his heart, the dragon breath suddenly slammed into his huge body. Here, it is the 3 inches of the snake, and it is also the death point of the snake under normal circumstances. After all, there is a saying that goes well, beat a snake and beat 3 inches. The ferocious giant didn't pay attention at first, but when the flames attacked his body, he suddenly realized something was wrong. A wave of fear arises spontaneously. Not good. The next moment, the ferocious giant didn't have time to continue chanting the spell, and the snake's eyes suddenly lowered towards the lake. At this time, the huge body that slowly surfaced 1/3 of the water had already slowly smelled of burning, like the smell of roasting whole sheep. Above that body, the power of flames has already been consumed by this mysterious lake, but the strange breath injected by the Soul Eater talisman is like a trace of indelible flame, black all over. Above the black flame breath, a pair of extremely mysterious runes are beating slowly. You bastard! The snake head shouted loudly in the middle, and then his body rioted, sinking into the lake with his huge body in an instant. Because of the mysterious rune that emerged from this black flame, it actually brought a sharp pain to the 3-headed water snake. Try to use this mysterious lake to extinguish this strange black flame. Don't do these useless things. This thing, if I didn't take action, even if a fighting fairy came, it would not be able to go out. Xiao Yang slowly sat on the pavilion and said quite leisurely. Although the pavilion's prohibition was somewhat malfunctioning due to the 3 water snakes, this did not affect the negotiation between Xiao Yang and the 3 water snake. As for the black flame, in fact Xiao Yang doesn't know why this happened, but Xiao Yang is clear that this black flame is the power scattered from the soul-devouring talisman in his hand. If Xiao Yang wants to take it back, as soon as the mind moves, the flame will come back immediately. If Xiao Yang didn't take it back, I'm afraid that with the extremely strange origin of this soul-devouring talisman, he would be able to swallow the soul power of the 3-headed water snake, and then it would slowly disappear. Humanity! What did you do? A roar suddenly came from the water, and then the body of the 3-headed water snake emerged. Only this time, the breath of the 3 water spirit snakes has been sluggish to varying degrees. The one next to it is still tightly closed and has no vitality. As for the other 2 foreheads, they are already sweating profusely, and they are obviously tortured by the black flame. It doesn't look like it. Around the body of the 3-headed water spirit snake, 3 inches from the snake, a black flame slowly burned, but no matter what method the 3-headed water spirit snake used, it could not be extinguished. What is the origin of this Soul Eater talisman? Even this ancient alien beast as powerful as the 3-headed water spirit snake can burn like this. Xiao Yang vaguely discovered that the power scattered by the soul-devouring talisman, in just a few breaths, suddenly disappeared. This aggressive and arrogant 3-headed water snake taught obediently. What? The soul power of these 3 water spirit snakes is actually... The next moment, Xiao Yang suddenly noticed the strangeness of these 3 water spirit snakes. Soul power is the foundation of a strong man. It can be said responsibly that the strength of a strong person has nothing to do with the strength of his soul, but a powerful soul force must be a strong one. Except for pharmacists and some people who concentrate on cultivating soul power, whether it is a beast or a human being, the soul power is above the same level. So once there is any error in the power of the soul, it is directly related to the source. Once the soul power goes wrong, it will directly shake the foundation. This is also why the three-headed water snake found that it could not extinguish the black flame, and said to Xiao Yang angrily, "Because this black flame seems to be eating away their soul power. It's only been a while, and it has eaten away 1%. If this lasts for 10 minutes, I'm afraid the foundation of the three-headed water snake will be shaken. Now, I have the strength to negotiate terms with you, right?" Seeing this, Xiao Yang spoke in a hurry. For someone like Xiao Yang who is always on the cusp of blood, he naturally knew that these three water snakes were just testing whether they had the ability to help them get out of trouble. "What a brave boy. This king is trapped here. You are the first person who dared to speak to me like this. The others died in my mouth." The three-headed water snake resisted the cannibalization of its soul power and said slowly, "But at the same time, I'm also someone who can help you free yourself." Xiao Yang did not listen to the three-headed water snake at all, but stared at the latter with a smile on his face. "Boy, I have to say that you are too arrogant." The three-headed water snake heard the words, and immediately said with a slightly heavier breath. Obviously, Xiao Yang was quite dissatisfied with this move. Think of it with three dignified water snakes, and its strength is comparable to that of a human being in the early stage of the 8-star Do Emperor. With the addition of the other two heads, even if it is a human 9-star Do Emperor strong, it has the power to fight. How could this be allowed today? The human boy is so proud. Let's stop gossiping. Now that we have a deal, I want to know everything about this place, and I will help you solve and get out of here, but you still have to take me to the mansion here. Xiao Yang took back the joke and said slightly solemnly, "There's no problem here. As long as you can help us get out of here, it's no problem to take you to that ghost place." The three-headed water spirit snake said slightly, but when he spoke about the ghost place, his whole body trembled involuntarily, obviously right where is the fear. "But you have to take this thing back first. Although I'm not afraid, but if this continues, there will inevitably be some other losses." The next moment, the three-headed water snake couldn't help it, and immediately spoke. "Because if you don't open your mouth, I'm afraid that the power of your soul will be devoured by this black flame, and your soul will be damaged. I have to warn you. Since this thing can trap you once, there must be a second time. If I find out that you lied to me, I'm afraid I will directly let it devour your soul next time. I believe that I have this strength." Xiao Yang said quite casually, but the warning in his voice was particularly obvious. "What's so fierce? People just told you about your elder brother's shortcomings. You now." A voice full of grievances appeared from the head of the other snake with open eyes. "Well," just when the tender voice was about to speak out, the ferocious giant suddenly questioned, and then the tender voice shriveled away, as if a little girl was afraid of being scolded for doing something wrong. "I promise you. This king swears by the power of the bloodline of the three-headed water spirit snake." The snake head said slightly, "Yes." Xiao Yang felt relieved when he heard the words. Most of the demon beasts are proud of their bloodline, and swearing by their bloodline is a way of worshipping them. The pride of the superior will not allow them to miss the appointment, so Xiao Yang is also relieved. "Take it," Xiao Yang said in a deep voice, and then pointed the palm of his hand to the black flame 3 inches from the three-headed water spirit snake. The next moment, a rather similar force appeared in Xiao Yang's palm, and then a terrifying suction force instantly emerged from Xiao Yang's palm, facing the black flame in front of her. In one breath, the black flames on the three-headed water spirit snake disappeared instantly, and slowly returned to Xiao Yang's palm. With the return of this black flame, it seems to have brought a trace of pure power. Obviously, this trace of power was obtained by swallowing some of the soul power of the three-headed water snake by swallowing the power of the soul-devouring talisman. But Xiao Yang didn't care too much. "What kind of fighting skills are you? Your power is quite impressive. According to my guess, I am afraid that the minimum is close to the holy rank." The tender voice sounded, for Xiao Yang's black flame fighting skills, quite curious. "Okay, you still tell me where this place is first, and why you are trapped here, so I can think of countermeasures." Xiao Yang said calmly after finishing all this, but the bite in the palm of his hand, the soul talisman still radiates a little light. "Once the three-headed water spirit snake does not keep the promise, I am afraid that it will be shot in an instant. Let's transform into a human form first. This form is troublesome." After the tender voice finished speaking, the huge three-headed water spirit snake body flickered strangely, and then transformed into 3 powers containing various colors of light. "Turn into a human form?" Xiao Yang was suddenly a little surprised. Although the human figure here turned into a human figure for a short time, it was enough to surprise Xiao Yang, a type of beast. Although it is possible to transform into a human by the power of the medicinal pill, it is different from transforming into a human and rebuilding. If the magical beast is transformed into a human figure through the power of the medicine pill, although it can be regarded as a human being, in the final analysis, it is still a human being. Only through the transformation of monsters into human beings and rebuilding can we gain some unique advantages of human beings for cultivation. However, this method of rebuilding human beings is extremely dangerous. For a demon beast, the minimum strength is to beat the fighting immortals before being qualified to rebuild human beings. If a monster at the level of fighting immortals is discovered by humans, there is no need to say more about its terrifying end. After a short period of surprise, Xiao Yang will also look at the figures in front of him. The three-color light slowly dispersed, and then the three-color light suddenly turned into three figures. First, she looked like a human woman. The woman's indifferent atmosphere matched a dress, which made her graceful figure stand out to the fullest. With the addition of that ponytail, it was extremely pure and lovely. The big watery eyes on his face were constantly looking around. In the other place, there is a man. There is nothing outstanding about the man. He is dressed in black, but through the black, he can vaguely see the solid chest hidden under the black cloth. Between the man's brows, a ferocious aura spreads out, like a peerless beast that makes people feel very chilled at first glance. As for the man's hand, he was holding a woman. The woman didn't have a dusty appearance, but there was a very special aura that permeated faintly. The strangest thing is that the woman doesn't have any vitality all over her body, like a living dead. Boy, remember, this king's name is Snake Punishment. These are my two younger sisters, a snake spirit and a snake jade. The man holding the woman in his arms opened his mouth. At this time, the three of them were all stepping on the water surface, which surprised Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang knew that there was definitely something wrong with the water. Under the forbidden sky, you can still step on it. These two are not easy. Hey, my name is Snake Spirit. What's your name? Where do you come from? Is it fun outside? The series of questions made Xiao Yang's head full of black lines. Who is this asking? Ling, don't ask such a question first, let's solve the big thing first. After Snake Punishment finished, he glanced at the woman in his arms, his eyes were full of guilt. Brother, I can't blame you for this, if it wasn't for my sister at the beginning. Snake Spirit saw this and made a deep voice, then saw Snake Punishment's eyes, and kept silent. That's my fault too. The strange thing this time was that Snake Punishment didn't have any refutation, he directly admitted, which made the Snake Spirit slightly shocked. What happened to my big brother today? He had never been in such a situation before. Boy, I'll tell you everything I know. Ling, it's time to tell you about some things. Snake Xing gave Snake Ling a meaningful look, and then glanced at Xiao Yang, then said, Senior, please tell me. Although Xiao Yang didn't know what medicine was sold in the snake torture gourd, but the snake torture did not violate the oath, this also made Xiao Yang slowly relieve. If these three water spirit snakes really didn't agree with him and were fighting back, I'm afraid Xiao Yang would be extremely annoying, but simply not. Ling, do you still remember what I told you before, that we were arrested by the owner of this mansion as guards to guard the mansion? Snake Xing looked at Snake Spirit slightly and spoke slightly. Remember? Big brother, you told me the same thing before, but my sister and I were too young and ignorant at the time. It was the care of Big Brother that made us who we are today. Although I have been in this lake all these years, with my elder brother and sister, I live happily every day. Snake Spirit said slightly, not noticing the hollow look in Snake Punishment's pupils at all. What happened to these three water snakes? Looking at their appearance, they shouldn't have been arrested here as guards by the mansion master. Also, it's strange, why does this soul-devouring talisman seem to be quite hot in the body of the three-headed water spirit snake? It seems that there is something in the body of the three-headed water spirit snake that attracts it. Xiao Yang whispered. No, Ling, you are wrong, we were not arrested by the owner of this mansion. At the beginning, I was seriously injured by a strong man, and luckily escaped into this desert mountain range, and then I escaped the pursuit of the enemy, but my injury was no longer able to heal. Just when I was about to give up, I was like an angel. The voice came to my ears. Come here, come here. I didn't know what to do at the time. With my last breath, I passed the stone and came to the top of the desert mountain range. When he first appeared, he came to this pavilion just like this human boy, but the voice calling me came from the bottom of this lake. At that time, I was on the verge of death, and I didn't care so much. I plunged directly into the lake, and then continued to sink in this lake. I don't know how long it took to sink. In short, it was slow. I began to wake up, and then found the two of you. The two of you were still babies at that time. When the two of you were discovered, there was a very terrifying drop of blood beside you. It's strange to say that, although the blood essence is extremely terrifying and contains terrifying power, there seems to be a faint trace of black energy on top of the blood essence. At that time, I didn't care so much, so I devoured the blood essence directly. Then I realized that the drop of blood essence was the blood essence of the legendary three-headed water snake. As for the black chi above the blood essence, it's the terrifying thing that haunts me behind. After swallowing the blood essence, I gave birth to two heads from the first head, but I was really weak at the time, and my mind was eroded by the black energy above the blood essence. I don't know why, the two of you. It actually merged with my other two heads. In other words, the two of you are directly living in my other two snake heads. As for Snake Jade, from the day I met her, she was in a coma. No matter what I did, I couldn't wake her up. But even if she was in a drowsiness, her body and strength continued to grow. Snake punishment, he said slowly, with a very heavy look in his voice. Do not. You lied. At the next moment, there was a faint trace of tears in the eyes of the snake spirit, apparently shocked by the words of the snake torture. Although I don't know whether the snake torture is true or not, one thing is certain. Although the snake spirit is a part of the three-headed water spirit snake, when the snake torture encounters a crisis or injury, it will not affect the two of them. This is quite weird. Because most of the magical beasts are all prosperous, even if it is a three-headed water snake, as long as one of the heads is damaged, it will undoubtedly affect the other two. I did not lie to you. You two can leave my body at any time, but I don't know how to do it. In these years, although the two of you have been absorbing my grudge, but with the mysterious power of this mysterious Hubo, my strength has not decreased but increased, and I am quite happy about that. I don't know the background of the two of you, but the two of you are absolutely shocking. Snake punishment is on the way. Impossible. The snake spirit's tender voice said slowly. Lingling, calm down first. Seeing this, snake punishment couldn't help but blame himself. No matter what the two of them said, they saved their own lives in the first place, so how could they treat them like this? Are you still my eldest brother? Snake spirit said stubbornly, holding back the tears. I will always be. Seeing this, Snake Xing couldn't help but warm up and said. Snake punishment was originally just a 3-star Do DI level magical beast. After being attacked by a human powerhouse, he escaped to this desert mountain range by chance. When he died, he encountered the blood of 3 water-spirited snakes. After swallowing it, his body changed. But even if it evolves into a 3-headed water snake, 2 completely different evil auras are suddenly born in the depths of the snake torture. That breath is extremely evil, as chilling as a heinous devil. Just when Snake Xing couldn't hold on and was about to be assimilated by the other 2 breaths, the 2 babe-alike crying at the bottom of the lake attracted her. Immediately, Snake punishment didn't care so much, so his body exploded, and with his last breath, he went deeper into the lake. Just came to the bottom of this mysterious lake, 2 very delicate babies like porcelain dolls were directly at the bottom of the lake, and then the evil black energy of the snake torture body was actually shocked by the crying of these 2 people at this time. Living. Immediately, the 2 babies turned into a meteor and merged into the other 2 foreheads of the 3-headed water snake. As for the black chi that was attached to the blood of the 3-headed water spirit snake at the beginning, it was also suppressed by the sudden aura of the 2. This is why snake punishment takes so much care of the 2 women. After all, if it wasn't for these 2 women at the time, I'm afraid the snake punishment would have already fallen, not to mention that the strength has soared to the level of an 8-star fighting emperor. Yes. This time, the snake spirit responded slightly, and was thinking about something. Boy, isn't this king's past good to hear? The deep voice of snake punishment came from Xiao Yang. Come up first. Seeing this, Xiao Yang showed no expression on the surface, but his heart was extremely shocked. What happened in this desert mountain range? How could it be invaded by the evil energy so seriously? Xiao Yang was extremely shocked. Alright, it's not good to stay too much in this lake. Seeing this, Snake Xing got up immediately, and then came to the pavilion with the snake jade in his arms. You guessed right, this is the place where a powerful person sat in his lifetime. This almighty, although his strength is only at the peak of Emperor Do, but he is a genuine immortal level pharmacist. Snake Sentence just came to the pavilion, and immediately spoke, obviously seeing some of Xiao Yang's thoughts. Immortal level pharmacist. Xiao Yang was overjoyed when he heard this. Although he has gathered all the materials for refining and swallowing the holy flame, he has been unable to break through the ranks of the refining pharmacists. Xiao Yan also knew that in order to break through the second-rank emperor rank alchemist, he must first break through the soul power. But the current self is already the soul power at the peak of the emperor's mortal level. If you want to take a step in the world, it is as difficult as reaching the sky. This video will end here.